Hi friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. This is my very first video with my new microphone. I finally got my Rode, that's the brand. There's SmartLav Plus, and it plugs right into my smartphone, and hopefully the sound's going to be great. I haven't tested it or anything. This is my first test. And we're reviewing this. Hopefully that click wasn't too loud on that microphone. I don't know how much it's going to pick up. This is the very first Benchmade that I've owned, to be totally honest with you. I've always been a guy who's limited by my budget. Tight budgets mean lower priced knives. But one of my viewers, we'll just call him KH, he sent me this summer, and I'm going to review it because I know that this channel, since it focuses on budget knives, there's a number of viewers, you guys, that are fairly new to the knife hobby, and maybe you don't know that much about this knife. The other channels aren't going to talk about it much because it's such a ubiquitous knife that they think everybody knows about it, and so they're not going to bring up the subject. So this is the Griptilian. It comes in 3 different blade styles, and each of those blade styles has an option of partially serrated. And you can even find them sprint runs, different kind of steels and stuff, Dama steel, D2, but the base version comes with S30V. That's a pretty good premium level steel. And I think you might be interested in this review, especially if you've never seen it before, which will be maybe a small minority of you, but there might be somebody. Designed by Mel Pardue, and made by Benchmade in the United States of America. It's got the, not that great, there we go. I was holding it wrong. It's got the access lock that Benchmade has made famous. And it's got that really loud, echoey sound when you click it around because we've got fiber reinforced nylon handles, and there's a lot of air spaces inside there, and it gets echoey and loud. At least that's what I'm thinking helps with that big loud sound. Well, without any further ado, let's get onto the tabletop and take a closer look at this knife. As I mentioned in the intro, this is a knife that's made in the United States, and it is made, at least I think, with a fair bit of precision. I'll say right at the outset, the base price of this thing is a little over $100, $130 at the Benchmade website. And some sites that sell this sell it for more than that, and some sell it for a bit less. Or get them in other places. I've got links for Canadian places if you want to buy them from Canadian places. Even House of Knives, as a matter of fact, has got the lowest Canadian price right now for this knife, as well as a couple other Canadian sources down there. I don't have any relationship with any of those Canadian vendors. I have a relationship with Integrity Knives, but they don't have Benchmade, at least not yet. I should double check that. If that's different, I'll put it on the screen. But there's a number of stores that have these knives. If you're in Europe or in the UK, knifeandtools.com, they've got a lot of Griptilians there as well. But before I get ahead of myself, I usually do a size comparison with the Ontario Rat 1. And lately I've been having a lot of people ask me about this. That's a snaggle tooth attachment to have a wave opening option. It's not very cheap to get one of these, but I did a review on them. So I'll try to remember to put the link down below. So what do we got here? If I line up the pivot pin right here with that pivot pin, it's a bit smaller than the Ontario Rat. The cutting edge length, if we just line them up, is almost identical between the two. So you just have basically a different handle grip, whereas the Ontario Rat has got a nice, comfortable handle grip. The Griptilian is equally very comfortable. This is a little bit thicker of a handle, a little bit stockier, and perhaps you like that, and very nice. It's got a much better steel, though. Maybe not much better, but I think it's a fair bit better than D2 steel in a lot of ways. For one, it's corrosion resistant, and it's got a good corrosion resistance. It's got a tough, durable edge, and not terribly hard to sharpen. Rockwell hardness of this is usually around 50, 59, I should say, 50, 58 to 60, 59, I guess. And you can get them in, I think, stonewash or this finish here. This is a very special finish and grind because this is done by a machine. It's one of the few knives, this is the only knife that I've had that's clearly had the bevel ground by a machine. And I guess that's how they can have the price lower because that reduces labor costs to have machines do it. If you can see these lines, there's equal spaced lines all the way across going down on this bevel, tiny little lines. It's nice. And then this grind here, this swedge has also got lines equally spaced all the way along. And I believe that the sharpening grind is also done by a machine because the grind angle is exactly the same one side to the other. And it's the same all the way along. Like this blade has been prepared by a machine. I think the only hands that touch this thing is when it comes to final assembly. At least that's my suspicion. Well, feeding steel into a machine and stuff. On the side here, it says S30V right there by my thumb. And there's Mil Pardue. And on this side, you got your Benchmade logo, the butterfly logo. And on the pocket clip, it also says Benchmade. Tip-up pocket clip either side, and pretty good pocket clip at that. They do have deep carry pocket clips that you can buy directly from Benchmade, 2 different versions of them for $10 each, stainless steel ones. And there are third-party parts for these things all over the place. If you're looking for a knife that you want to be able to customize, the Griptilian is one that you can customize like crazy. Benchmade has got some handle scales that you can get different, but you can find copper handle scales, you can find titanium, carbon fiber, G10, just about anything. There's all kinds of handle scales that you can get, but this base is just a fiber reinforced nylon, and they've got a nice texture on the side for grip, and they've got texture here that's a lot like jimping for grip here as well. And then the liners are exposed right here. These are small liners. They come along the inside here and come back and end right about here. And then there's metal inserts into the nylon here for the threads to screw the pocket clips on. We've got a pivot pin that is not spinning, so that's really good. And it's an axis lock. And Benchmade is the company that designed the axis lock. And the Griptilian is probably their most famous knife. And the axis lock on this one is just perfect. It's just, if you just pull back on the lock and the blade just wants to fall. Does it have ball bearings to keep it nice and smooth and action? No. You got phosphor bronze washers in there. It's a droppy knife. One company that copied a lot of Benchmade's knives is Ganzo, and they chose some really good knives to imitate, and they've done a good job on that too. But you don't have the detail, the attention to detail that you have on a Benchmade knife. Very, very smooth. The lockup on these is very good. You can do a spine whack test, and I did, and it didn't give at all. It's a well-made knife. Oh, back here they've got some of that jimping kind of thing as well, and here, and then there's the liners exposed there as well, just like here. So very, very good grip on this knife. Any grip you want to do is super comfortable. This reverse grip, saber grip, fist grip. You want to pinch up and do more detailed work, that works just fine too. The blade it's under 1/8 of an inch thick. This one's the drop point with the swedge. There's also a sheep foot that has a hole in it. And there's a Western Tanto version as well. Lots of different options for these knives. Now let's go into my testing. What did I do on this testing? I cut all kinds of stuff with this thing, and it cut, well, not super well, but not bad at all. It's a good knife. It's a good all-round EDC. With this blade, the tip is great for piercing. Probably not as good as the Tanto, but it's good for piercing. That swedge helps as well. This long straight edge, great for cutting all kinds of materials. A nice belly here if you need to use that part of the blade. It's a well-made knife. The thumb studs are removable if you want to. There's a little torque screw in there. There's no reason to take it off, though, because when you want to sharpen the knife, you should be able to get past that thumb stud, no problem, to get to the cutting edge to sharpen it. And the thumb stud's far enough back that it's not really in the way when you're slicing things. They really thought through the Griptilian when they made it, when Mel designed it. Lanyard hole is kind of in a placement that I don't really like that much. But I don't use lanyards, so it doesn't really bother me at all. With this pocket clip arrangement, I would prefer the lanyard hole to be back here if I used a lanyard. With the deep carry pocket clips as well, that's still, I think, a better place for the lanyard back here. But that's just my specific taste. You know, some people might prefer it up here than down here. That's a minor thing that I might change. What else might I change? Well, I'll talk to you about that right now. Let's take out the pair of pants that I have. And, I was going to talk about this box. Sure, I'll do this and get it off the table. The box that it ships with is quite nice. You get a pouch with it. And you've got a nice foam insert here to hold it in place so that it doesn't get damaged during shipping. And the pouch is something that a lot of companies use as well, the same kind of thing. A little draw line on it. The pocket clip, the design looks like it's quite good. When you go to put it on the pants, it climbs over that edge very easily, but it doesn't slide over that well. There's two reasons for that. The main reason is this pocket clip is strong. It's pushing down with a lot of force. And that's complicated by the fact that you've got all this texture, these little basically pyramid-shaped points. And it creates a lot of friction right there. So it really pulls on the fabric when you're putting it in and taking it out. It's too strong in my opinion. Yeah, in denim, it works okay. In any lighter fabric kind of pants, you'd be getting upset. It would feel like it's getting ready to rip your pants. What can you do about it? Well, you can easily just flex it, and if you flex it enough, it'll make this a little bit weaker back here, and the spring won't be quite as tight. Or you can get different handle scales that don't have this rough texture. Or you can take the pocket clip off and smooth out that texture right there. Just sand it down a little bit so that your pants will slide through a little easier. If you know you're going to leave this pocket clip on it, forever, then sanding a little space in there, nobody's ever going to see it, but you're going to make it a little smoother action. So there's a con. It's minor, but it's there. But these 3 holes make the pocket clip very strong, the 3 screws in there. The deep carry pocket clips just use the 2 outside screws, but that's plenty as well. So I've got nothing bad to say about the strength of the pocket clip in terms of how well it is attached to the handle. It opens and closes so easily. It's fun to play with. Access locks have always been fun to play with, and of course, Benchmades are the best. It is a little bit loud, so if you're watching TV with your spouse, like I do every once in a while, no, I couldn't play with this knife. There's a lot of knives I can play with, but I couldn't play with this knife in the evenings. So now let's do a little conversation about all the specs and measurements and all that stuff. Put this down here. Now, this has been said about these knives so many times. There's all kinds of reviews on this out there, but let me go over it. I forgot to write down the weight. The weight of this knife is on the screen. It's not bad at all. The balance point is right where you want it to be. That's very good. The sharpness from the factory, 65 bess. Yeah, 65. That's all it was. That's very sharp from the factory. And that has a lot to do with the fact that machines have been sharpening these knives. The length of the cutting edge, 8.42 centimeters, 3.31 inches. By the way, this sharpener's choil is awesome. The length from the tip of the steel to the closest spot on the handle, 8.53 centimeters. That's 3.36 inches. So basically, cutting edge length and blade length are very much the same. The blade thickness is 2.89 millimeters. That's 0.114 of an inch. The blade depth, and I always measure it an inch up from the sharpener's choil, so where my fingers are right there, 2.57 centimeters, 1.01 of an inch. The thickness of the edge behind the grind. Now we've come to another one of my negatives. And again, I measure it an inch up. This is 0.69 millimeters thick, which is 27 thousandths of an inch. S30V can handle being, 16, 15, 17 thousandths of an inch easily and still be very strong. The reason I don't like that, it's so thick. Every time you sharpen this knife, it's going to get thicker behind the grind. It's not going to get thinner because, it's got that flat saber grind. And so that's not a good thing. How did they address making it so thick? Well, they might have made it so thick because they want it to be very strong and durable. And so they put a grind angle on it. I measured it at 15.1 degrees on each side. I suspect their machines are more accurate than my measuring by hand. It's probably exactly 15 degrees per side. I wouldn't doubt it at all because there's a lot of precision on this thing. So S30V can certainly handle being 15 degrees per side. No problem with that at all. And that helps it have a sharper edge and easier to cut things. So that's very good. I just wish they would have made it thinner behind the grind as well. Talking about the handle now, the handle length is 11.73 centimeters, 4.62 inches. The grip area, it's about 10 centimeters, just under 4 inches, 3.9 inches or so. The handle thickness, not counting the pocket clip, is 1.63 centimeters. That's 0.641 of an inch. Now, most guys have responded on other videos when I say a handle is over half an inch thick, they balk at it. And yet a lot of people love the Griptilian. It's just a very good handle. It's comfortable for most people. My hands are between large and extra large on the North American men's glove sizes. So it just fits my hand very, very well. The handle depth, that's this measurement. It's biggest right here, 2.98 centimeters, 1.17 inches. The knife depth when it's closed, it's biggest right there, 3.59 centimeters, 1.41 of an inch. And the total length of this knife from the tip to the end, I measured 20.2 centimeters, 7.95 inches on this one. So basically an 8-inch knife, 3.5-inch blade, 4.5-inch handle, roughly. Very good balance. It just fits and it feels good. How much does it cost? I mentioned that already. About $110.50 at White Mountain Knives. Take off 10% and it's just under $100. You take off 10% when you use coupon code CCE at White Mountain Knives. Other places you can buy it, I've got links down below for Amazon if you want to. You can go directly to Benchmade if you want to pay $130. That's about the same price as it is on Amazon. So many options on this knife. The biggest strength of this knife is attention to detail and the options. And then the third biggest advantage is the aftermarket options. You can customize this thing to make it anything you want. I'm thinking about getting the titanium handle scales. They cost as much as the whole knife does new. I don't think I'm ever going to afford that though, but that's what I want. I probably will do a deep carry pocket clip. I didn't mention the blade centering yet. If you see mine, there you go. It's off to this side. I've not tried to adjust it yet. Of course I can, but you want to know what it's like from the factory. It's a little bit off. Not a big deal. It's not rubbing anywhere. S30V is a good steel. There have been sprint runs with D2 on this thing, and of course there's Dama steel versions. So the cons on this, again, pocket clip is a little bit too strong, and then with this texture, it can cause a little bit of irritation. The noise that it makes when it opens, that's a very, very minor con, but it is a con. And how thick it is behind the grind, I would really prefer that it was less. But I appreciate the fact that it's a 15-degree angle, so it still cuts quite well. So if you've never heard of the Griptilian before and you're interested in it, go ahead and look it up on YouTube. There's going to be loads of videos on here. Everybody and their dog has got an opinion on this knife, and I've just shared mine with you. I again want to thank KP for sending this to me. I really, really appreciate it. It's a very wonderful knife. You know, I'm a budget guy because I've been living with health issues, chronic pain for decades, and I've never had a big budget. And so I do a small budget video channel. Will I be getting more knives that are over $50, $60 on this channel? Yeah, it's going to continue that way. But, you know, it's never going to become the majority of things on this channel. I will always have budget knives as the mainstay of this channel forever and ever. Amen. You know, it will not change in terms of what the main role of this channel is. But occasionally you're going to see knives that cost a little bit more. You're never going to see customs or MTECs. Actually, one sort of exception of that, I will be getting a fixed blade from a gentleman who I found in Ontario. He contacted me, and he's got a small run of fixed blades, his first run of fixed blades that he's producing, and he's going to be sending me one of those. And he also does regrinding, and so I'm going to do a video about the regrinding that he offers, generally on fixed blades. And so I'm getting off topic. I'm starting to talk about other things, so I might as well just tell you thank you very much for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.